This has Knicks fans very concerned about one of their newest players, as there's been a ton of discourse surrounding the Knicks' newest signings and some fear that fans have had, though it all is part of a greater plan for the Knicks. And we're going to explain what that plan is and how it impacts two of the Knicks' key role players, two members of that top 7 group of Knicks, the really core 7 Knicks players, and we're going to break all this down, discuss how this fear about one of our new talents really is just part of a bigger plan, and a lot more on top of that as well in regards to some of the most important players on this roster, and we are going to break that all down. But guys, real quick before we do that, if you're part of that 57% that's not subscribed to Knicks Digest, make sure to subscribe for daily New York Knicks updates. We have a lot of great videos coming at you every single day that you don't want to miss out on. We're having so much fun on this channel right now. But with all that being said, let's jump into the video. There is a lot to go over on the Knicks right now because, guys, look, obviously we are just days away. We're a little under 48 hours away, or a little over 48 hours away before the first Knicks game of the season, which I am obviously so excited for. Now, with that in mind, there has been a lot of discourse surrounding the Knicks and what exactly the plan is moving forwards for this squad, and how they're going to go about a few different things here. Now, there's been a bunch of questions raised about Mike Brown and what exactly is going to happen. But now, fans are starting to worry about one of the Knicks' marquee signings over this offseason, and that is Guerschon Yabusele. Now, Yabusele showed up on the Knicks on a mid-level exception contract. He was the one guy the Knicks actually gave some sort of substantial money to in that 2-year deal that they signed Yabu to. Now, Yabu is a guy who's like, I've always said he's a pure power forward, and he plays the position really well. He can shoot the 3 ball. He's physical. He rebounds the ball. I mean, he put up 11 and 5 last year, shooting 38% from 3. He had great numbers for a power forward who fits this team really well. A very fundamental basketball player who understands his role with this team and is really good for a winning environment. He's an excellent leader. He's not afraid to be vocal with the guys, and he is always ready to just play with that New York grit and mentality that fans are going to love. Though fans have been a bit worried considering he is heavier than almost everyone in the NBA. As mentioned by our friends at Let's Talk Knicks, who called him thick, Guerschon Yabusele weighed 265 pounds last season on the Sixers, according to ESPN and the NBA websites. He's now weighs 18 pounds more at 283 now for the Knicks. Yabu, who's 6'8", weighs 8 more pounds than Mitchell Robinson, 14 more pounds than Karl-Anthony Towns, and Trey Jemison as well, and 15 more pounds than Ariel Huck-Porty. Now, this has fans worried because they're like, is Yabusele too heavy? This is the conversations that a lot of people had about Zion Williamson for a while, considering that maybe he's just too big and he ought to lose some weight, as it could really help with the Knicks season. Now, here's the thing. We could say that. We can go into all the reasons why, oh, well, he's too heavy. What if that's a problem on his legs? Yabusele's jacked. He's built like an absolute freight train. He doesn't strike me as someone who ever in his life has been skinny or thin. Look, here's the thing about NBA players. If you've... This sounds like I'm flexing. I don't mean for it to sound like that. I've sat at 2 games courtside in my entire life, which I consider to be such a blessing. One of them a Knicks game, one of them a Lakers game. If you've ever gotten that close to the court, you notice 2 things about NBA players. 1, the height thing is wild. 2, they're all thinner than you'd imagine. Like, look, the 2 games I've been to were Knicks Bucks in New York, and all of them were thinner than they looked. This was last season with last year's Knicks. Giannis looks thinner than you'd imagine. And then the Lakers playing the Houston Rockets out in the Crypto.com arena. The only person who doesn't look like abundantly thin or didn't look abundantly thin and still looked pretty thin was LeBron James, who's also jacked. I mean, Luka Doncic, everyone's like, oh, he's fat. The man looks thinner than most people. That's just part of the thing. Remember, these guys are very tall. It does extend out, and the TV does add weight. So when you consider that, I just want to bring that up real quick and let you know that the looks can be a little deceiving from time to time. Now, I'm not saying that's always the case. Guerschon Yabusele looks huge. He looks very big. He looks jacked. He's clearly very muscular. He's got the largest butt I've ever seen in human history. It's really a sight to behold. And that sounded weird. But as Mike Brown said just about Yabusele, this is also about him playing center. That's truly what it feels like to me. As Mike Brown mentioned, I thought it was a great opportunity the last game that he played for Yabusele to get some time in at the center position. It's tough for him, and he was thinking a little too much, which is going to happen, and it kind of brought his game to a halt in other areas. I thought the second half, his energy, his activity was a lot better. He started feeling a little bit more comfortable in the second half, but it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for him when learning that center position. With Yabu saying, for sure, it's pretty big of a learning curve in the offense and just also like running. So the biggest key for me was to just run all the time. Try to run to the basket and try to make other teams tired. We had a conversation about what was happening in the game. We talked about a situation that was there and what Mike Brown wanted me to do better. I'm really trying to be as much as I can be focused to try to get every detail to make sure I'm in the right spot. For me, it's a new team with new guys, so I really want to try to fit into the system and be a solution and not a problem. Now, Yabusele didn't ultimately have the greatest preseason in the world. He did have some bad outings, but he's also over the summer had excellent outings while gaining this weight, putting up 36 points over in Eurobasket, including hitting 6 threes. We also saw a few breakdowns on Yabu that should have fans excited. I mean, we see Jackson Lloyd mentioned here. Why did the Knicks sign Yabusele? Here's an example why. There's a video of it that you could go check out on Jackson Lloyd's Twitter where he does mention he rotates early as a low man, steps up in help and absorbed the collision and drew a charge on Antonio Reeves. It's a simple game, but many are unwilling to take those body blows because it hurts. It's the most physical part of the basketball game. I mean, when you're a guy down there on the low block in the post, and Yabusele, who's going to spend some time at the center position, he's going to be playing the most contact part of the sport. Look, when you're down there and you're playing defense, and I never played too high level of basketball, but I've been my entire life been a big man in basketball. I'm a taller person. I'm not lightweight, so I've played almost every single basketball team I've been on outside of AAU for 1 year. I have been a power forward or a center. It's just what it is. When you guard people who are posting up, they're not always intentionally doing it, but they hit you pretty hard in the ribs and the chest with their shoulder, with their elbows. It happens. It's incidental contact. I'm not saying that people are throwing elbows in the New York City Basketball League. I mean, they really don't too. But like when you get hit with a shoulder or something, you do feel it. It's contact. It's a contact sport. If you don't want to play the contact sport, nobody's asking you to. You don't have to. Guerschon Yabusele is big because he knows he's playing more center this year. He doesn't have Joel Embiid and Andre Drummond on his team, sort of preventing him from ever stepping in as a 5. That's not the case this year with the Knicks. The Knicks have Cat. They have Mitchell Robinson, who's not going to play every game, which we're about to get into. And they have Ariel Hukporti. Outside of that, he's the next man up for center. Obviously, Trey Jemison's there as well on a 2-way contract, so that'll also help things. But still, Yabu is going to net some minutes at center. That's just the case, and it's probably going to happen more games than it's not going to. He wants to be prepared to be able to be a big man, and he's not the tallest vertically, so he's adding more weight. So these big guys have a harder time moving Yabu down low. It does make sense. There is a rhyme and a reason to this. It's not like his role is the exact same as it was in Philly. It's not. It's a different role than what he played last year, so he has to kind of use a different style of play. It's completely normal. It's not something that we should really be too thrown off about. And I mean, yeah, he's the 5th heaviest player in the NBA now. I mean, there's Zach Edey, who's 305 pounds, Yusuf Nurkic, who's 290 pounds, Nikola Jokic, who's 284 pounds. That's a lie. He definitely weighs more. Zion Williamson, who's 284 pounds. I don't think he still is, but okay. And Guerschon Yabusele, he's 283 pounds. When we notice this, we now see, all right, well, what Yabu's going to be able to make up for is just in height, he could use in that vertical or in that horizontal strength. Also, outside of Edey here, Nurkic, Jokic, Zion, do we all see a pretty similar factor here? None of those guys are protecting the rim. They're not. None of them are rim protectors. They're just not. So Gabby, one of them is the best player in the NBA on this list. Obviously, I'm talking about Nurkic here, but in all seriousness, it's like Jokic is the best player in the NBA. Zach Edey's a great defender already. A huge part of it's because he's 7'4", but not penalizing him for that. On top of that, Zion Williamson, not the world's best defender. But what's the thing? You can't move him. Yabu is doing that. He's making it so you can't move him. And unlike Zion, Yabu isn't a guy who's going to be there to be some baseline to baseline rim running guy who obviously that's really simplifying Zion's game, but is still a baseline to baseline player a lot of the time where he's chugging it down the floor because he's best when he's in transition. Yabusele can play in the half court. Not saying that Zion can't, obviously. Again, Zion can. I'm just saying Zion's biggest strength is playing transition basketball. Where Yabusele, he could go transitional, but he's more of a half-court style of play. Now, with Mike Brown, we're going to see that change a little bit. But at the same time, what we're also going to be seeing is just a guy who's going to be more versatile. That's probably the goal with gaining the weight here. He doesn't look fat at all. He looks like he added more muscle to his body. That's what I've seen, is that he looks more muscular. He looks stronger. He looks more prepared for this. And he played a lot of being the primary big man with France at Eurobasket. So a big reason for this as well is because what he was doing over in France. He's now bringing that in to the Knicks. Look, if it doesn't work, he's a professional athlete. He could lose weight pretty quickly. Again, pro athletes, they're not like us. They have all the things in the world to go out there and lose this weight. So I'm not really going to be concerned at all about Guerschon Yabusele's weight going forward. Now, on top of that, another thing is he's going to play more center than last year and just a lot of minutes as a big man, with right now Josh Hart dealing with injury and Mitchell Robinson also dealing with injury, not going to be playing every game. As the New York Post mentioned, Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart didn't practice on Monday, and new coach Mike Brown wasn't sure of their status for his first game as the Knicks head coach. Hart missed the final 4 preseason games due to back spasms, while Robinson didn't play in the last 2 contests due to what the Knicks have termed load management. Robinson also hasn't practiced over the last week, and as Mike Brown said, everything we're doing with him, Mitch, is about managing the workload. We'll do the whole year. Brown said that, and then when asked if there was a real injury to the 7'1" center, the case is they're just watching out for Mitch because he averages, not kidding, around 48.5 games a year. I believe it actually is exactly 48.5 games per year. So with that, basically, we're now in this situation where we just have to navigate this. And without Mitch, Yabu's going to be forced into more of a big man role. So because of that, there is going to be a lot to go over. But guys, I do want to know what you think about this. Are you actually worried about Yabu's weight? I'm personally not that nervous about it. I'm very optimistic as a fan as well. And again, so maybe I'm wrong to not really be reacting to this, but at the same time, I think it's fine. Also, on top of that, again, man's a pro athlete. If he wants to lose 15 pounds, if he has to lose 15 pounds, I guarantee you Guerschon Yabusele can lose 15 pounds in over 3 weeks. NBA players usually lose weight over the season as well because of like just the amount of sweating in basketball they're playing compared to over the off season, where most athletes usually do take a month or 2 off. This video is going long, so like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. Go Knicks.